Hey, Algebra 2 students and parents. My name is Mrs. Holbert, and I loved meeting some of you today at co-teacher training, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of you students tomorrow for student orientation. So I wanted to send you this video of just what to expect in our classroom throughout the year, and especially the first day of school, and just what are we going to be doing in Algebra 2. So I want to equip you with all of the tools and information you are going to need to be successful this year. So I'm going to be sharing with you a PowerPoint and some tools. So make sure you listen in and pay attention those first few days of school so that you can be the most successful that you can be this year. So let's go ahead and get started. So hopefully you have on your schedule either Math 1100 or 1101. The Advanced Honors class is the 1101, and we are meeting in room 203 this year. So I'm super, super excited. So one of the things we're going to talk about is what can you expect every day that you are in the classroom. We are meeting 3 days a week, so it is very, very important that you come ready and prepared for class each class day. That means you need to have your math book, whether it is the online subscription that we have or the actual textbook. These will be handed out Monday, the first day of school in class. If you would like to leave it at home and use the online version, that is perfectly fine. We're not going to use it a lot, and I will let you know when we will be using it. So if you want to bring your book back to school, you can. So some further instructions about that will be going out the first day of school, but this is what our book is going to look like, because we have some really exciting things to talk about this year in Algebra 2. Of course, you need a pen or a pencil. I prefer pencil only because it's easy when you make mistakes to erase it. If you want to write in pen, that is perfectly fine with me, as long as I can read your handwriting. You're going to need your handy dandy graphing calculator, and please make sure it is charged. We have on the school supply list the version of calculator you should have, which is the TI-84 pictured here. And if you have any questions, make sure that you shoot me an email. Occasionally, we're going to need to use graph paper. And, of course, any classwork from the previous day that has not been turned in, make sure you bring that to class. We're going to be using a lot of colored pens, pencils, and highlighters in class. I love to use color in my notes, and I think it's an easy way for us to be able to see some of the pieces of algebra we need to see. So just make sure you have those handy for your day-to-day use. And then, of course, the notebook. This is a big piece of information I'm going to talk about a little bit later on what my expectations are for your notebook and kind of how to set it up. So make sure you pay attention to that. Let's talk about your math textbook. Now, I did tell you that they will be issued the first day of school. You're going to keep these either in your backpack or at home, and you will bring them back on the last day of school. Okay? You have to remember, though, and we will talk about this more in depth at school, that these are legacy property, and so please treat these with respect and don't write solutions in them or anything like that. Students, you can take these home, leave them. However, you will need them in class, like I said, so just make sure you cover them, either old school or using the stretchy kind of book cover. Whatever you use is fine as long as it's covered. And of course, if you want to just use the online textbook, that is fine. You do not have to use the hardback version. It's just there in case you want it. So the cool thing about this year is we have an online portal. I'm going to show you some things that you can expect and what you will look for. So what I want to do is I want to share with you this screen of Algebra 2. This is what you will see from the Student Center. You can see when you log in, it says Student Center. Here is your ebook right here underneath the green icon, and I'm going to share with you what some of these icons mean. So this little piece of the pie, you may remember if you were with us last year, is your Alex portal. Alex is all in one spot this year. You do not need a separate login for Alex. So on Monday, when we sign in to our McGraw-Hill portal, you will have Alex right there at your fingertips. We have an ABC icon, which is your vocabulary, and you can even watch additional videos on the lesson in case you need more help. So this is such a great online tool, and I hope that you guys will use this. Some other things with our online portal is you can see here, you can choose what lessons that you want to go to if you're looking for a specific lesson. This purple icon, that is your online personal tutor. You guys have access to 24/7 tutoring right here with our book. So many resources. Make sure you guys are utilizing those this year in the course if you need them. So let's talk about our notebook. So our notebook, this is something that I hope that you guys will really use and get some use out of. So on your school supply list, you will notice it asked you for a 3-ring binder. So how you set up the cover is up to you. I just sort of printed off something with some cute fonts, and I'm going to put my name on it. So you have binder tabs that were also on your school supply list that you are going to put into that binder. Now notice I used the little label maker. You can write them, doesn't matter, but it's where your papers are going to be organized. So the labels are going to be notes, calculator keystrokes, handouts, graded, and just paper, regular lined paper. We'll go over this more on the first day of school, but it's there for you to have access to set it up now. The other thing is make sure that you have an easy place to have your name, because you're going to be turning this in every chapter so that I can check your notes. And so make sure your name is on it so that I can know whose notebook I'm giving a grade to. So let's open up our notebook. What does it look like inside? Here is the notes section, and you can see notes are pretty well laid out. You have red boxes that are your Cliff Notes guide. This is important information, and this is where if you're studying for a test, you want to make sure you know these things in the red box. You're also going to see blank spots where I've written. This is where you, as a student, are going to clearly write and fill in your notes. Now remember, this is your study material for a test. So if your notes don't match the videos, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, or they're out of order, or they're messy, you're going to have a really hard time studying for that test. So make sure you have complete notes. Okay, and then of course make sure your examples are there and all work is also there that needs to be there. All right, so the next tab, you might have seen something that said calculator keystrokes and thought, what does that mean? Calculator keystrokes, these are papers I'm going to hand you to put in your binder. These are little step-by-step directions on how to work that graphing calculator, because there are some functions your graphing calculator does that are just amazing, like graphing absolute functions or shading parts of a graph. So knowing those steps on how to solve them and use it are important. The key thing though to remember is while these are handy and these are a great resource, you cannot use these on a test or a quiz. So make sure if you are having a test about absolute value, let's say, you know these steps, because you will not be able to reference them for your test. All right, so one of the things I love is the flipped classroom. This was something I piloted a number of years ago when I taught geometry, and it is so helpful since we only are in the classroom 3 days a week. So if you're new to this, I'm going to explain a little bit what you can expect. So on a home day, your Tuesdays and your Thursdays, and if you are a junior, this would be after school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So whenever you are at home to do homework, our week typically looks like this. Mondays in class, there will be a lesson taught. And then online, you will have Tuesdays and Thursdays if you are, a sophomore, or Monday and Wednesday and Friday if you are not a sophomore. So the actual day that the classroom is flipped depends on your schedule, but in class on Wednesday and Friday, we will be reviewing whatever lesson you reviewed. So here are some tips for you. Do not procrastinate watching the lesson videos. If Wednesday we are going to talk about lesson 1, 2, don't wait till Wednesday morning to watch it. Don't watch it at 2 a.m. on Tuesday. I can log in and see when students are watching them, so just a heads up on that. Sometimes I do check that. You want to watch for understanding. The goal of these videos is not to check off the box, I watched it, I'm done. We make these so that you have the opportunity to pause it if you need to, rewind it if you need to, but you are learning for understanding. You are not just watching it to hear Mrs. Holbert talk. And of course, please make sure you are not skipping steps. Writing down the steps that I write down are important. You may see it and then think, yeah, I got it, but then come to a similar example and not get it. And then those steps are so important. And of course, I know this sounds kind of redundant, but please use the sound. And don't put the video on twice speed. Sometimes, even though you may think, oh, well, I've got it, she's talking fast, I can get this 30-minute video done in 10 minutes. But you might miss something. So please make sure you're listening. If you're doing it in study hall, make sure you bring your headphones. And then please use just regular speed. Here's a screenshot of kind of what you may see on an EduCreations video. Those of you that were here in the past, this will look familiar to you, and we'll talk more about that this first week of school as you start doing it. So if it's still a little confusing, it's okay, and please reach out if you have questions that first week of school. Now, in class, I want you to know my expectations in order to have a great year. Because we are only in class 3 days a week, it is vital that you are attentive during our Monday lectures. You may have a topic that may seem review for you, but it might not be review for somebody else. So please make sure you come in ready to learn. Take appropriate notes. Ask questions. If you're not comfortable asking a question in front of the class, that's okay. Make sure that you see me after class, shoot me an email, but make sure we connect so that we can get you on the same page as everyone else. A good thing to note is Monday's classwork is usually lighter because we've spent the class period talking about whatever the lesson is. Often you will have some time to start this in class. Sometimes you may not, but no matter what, any classwork left unfinished is your responsibility to finish by the next class period. Classwork is always due that next class period, and so it will not be late if it's turned in on Wednesday. All right. Occasionally, there might be a problem out of the book assigned, but for the most part, we use the Alex software, which is embedded in that online portal I was showing you earlier. On a Wednesday and a Friday in class, you can expect that because you have already watched the lesson at home, you will come in knowing the content. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to ask you questions to check that you really watched that video. And I'm going to ask you some things to make sure you understood what you watched. If we need to go over some sections, we will go over them. So if you come into class and think, get everything except for maybe these few examples you did over here, it's okay. We're gonna recap it. We're gonna spend about half the class period recapping, going over, making sure we really understand those content and concepts. We'll apply some of it to real world scenarios because you are gonna see algebra in the real world. But a majority of your class time is spent doing either the ALEX or a book assignment. These assignments are designed to be finished in class. However, I do know some of you work at different paces, and some of you may want to take it home to look at it, and so some of you may not be finished. I understand that, and that is why even on Wednesdays and Fridays, classwork is not due until the following class day. So if you're in a crunch and you're thinking, man, I am not going to finish this classwork in class, it's okay. It will always be listed on Praxis, finish classwork. If you already finished, hey, you are good. Check that box off. But if you didn't, that's okay too. You have the opportunity to finish at home and bring it the next class day. So let's talk about this ALEX. Some of you that have done ALEX before, you are familiar with this format, but we do have a lot of new people, and so I want to refresh, and we'll go over this in class too, what you should be turning in. So first thing, of course, is your name and date. I have to know whose paper it is. And turning this little piece of paper in is worth 20 points. I would hate for somebody to get 100 on ALEX but get an 80 in the grade book because they forgot to turn in their scratch work. So make sure you get it in. One of the other things it's very important is that I know what assignment this is. So make sure you title it. You can see this is ALEX lesson 1, 2, and I know what to look for when I go to grade in the ALEX software. So you can see number 1 and 2, there was no work needed, and they are correct. There is a paper that will be coming home on the first day of school explaining a little bit on how to use ALEX a little bit more. But when you finish your first attempt, you can see that number 3 was wrong. I did not get a good score because only 2 out of 3, that's a 67%. I don't want that grade in the grade book. But with ALEX, I have the opportunity to go back and look, what did I do wrong? And I can have an explanation so that I can fix and learn. So that is why we use ALEX. So I can see number 3 was done wrong. I showed my work, but when I checked the report, I saw where I made the mistake. And so you can see right here, this was done in a different color. It's just when I scanned it, it looks black, but it was blue ink. I circled and I wrote what I did wrong. And then I wrote the correct answer. The neat thing about ALEX is I can click quick retake, and then I only have to retake the one I got wrong. So on my second attempt, you can see I only had to fix number 3 because that was the problem I did wrong the first time. So number 3, because I did the second attempt, I can get 100% for this assignment. Now, if I did not do a second attempt and I stopped up here and just wrote my explanation and the answer, but I didn't go try to do another one, I would only get half credit back. But that is important. If you've taken all 3 of your attempts and you don't have any more, you can always correct it off to the side and still get half credit back. So always go for those attempts first, and then if you're out of attempts, you've emailed your teacher and you still just don't understand, you can always correct it on the side. So remember, that final grade will be 100 in the grade book. Okay, so we'll talk more about ALEX the first week of school when we're actually doing these assignments. So fear not, we will talk a lot more in class that first week of school about this. All right, so some things I want to talk about. We all sometimes hit a roadblock and need some help. You can see here, there are some icons I'm going to talk about here in a second, but if you do need help, email or text me. I have my cell phone on me all the time. Before 8 p.m., please. I know that a lot of you may know I stay up later, but I really don't want to be answering school questions at 11 o'clock at night, because sometimes I may not be up at night, and it's a little too late, especially the day before an assignment is due. Okay, so ask yourself too, have you rewatched the lesson? Did you use your notes to help you on the problem? And of course, have you looked at helpful websites like Purple Math, Khan Academy, or especially that online portal I was telling you about earlier? So some things I want to talk about though is this little S down here. This is an app called Slater, and a lot of students use this to help them with their textbook, and it is a good help, but it is easily abused, and so I want to talk about it. You can see it right here on my phone, the S Slater. So yes, Ms. Holbert knows about this app, and you can easily type in our textbook, and you can see from this picture over here on the right, they have our current version of our textbook. It has every problem in the book solved and showing how to do it. While this could be a good help for you, understand two things. First of all, the problems that are solved by other people, not the publisher of the textbook. So sometimes these people are not right in the answers they give you. Second thing, Slater does not take your test for you. So if you start relying too much on Slater, your teacher, Ms. Holbert, will know, because your test grade will not reflect what your textbook grade reflects. So this is another reason why we use Alex so much, because unfortunately anything anymore with hard print is copied, or there's all loopholes around it. So if there are textbook problems, please, please, please use Slater at your very heightened discretion. It is there to be a help, not become a hindrance. So if you find that you are consulting Slater too much, Slater does not need to be your best friend, and Slater needs to maybe be deleted from your apps. But it is helpful, I will say, sometimes if you are stuck on a problem. So please don't think I'm saying don't ever use it. I want you to be aware it's out there, and that it's being used, and that your teacher knows about it. So those are some things that I just want you to be aware of as students and as parents. So those are some keys on how to be successful in Algebra 2 this year. We are going to have a great year. I cannot wait to see you all on the first day of school, and we are going to have a great year. If you have questions or comments, or you just want to say, hey, what's up, Ms. Holbert, just please email me, and I look forward to just the amazing learning that is going to go on in our classroom as you walk through the doors and in the halls of Legacy this year. So I hope we have a blessed year. I will see you guys in a few days.